Every year, thousands of high school students across the United States graduate and prepare to take the next step in their education, a college degree, and hopefully after that, a successful career. But that step from high school to college is looking more like a gap that they have to leap across. And for many, that gap is just too big. The reason is quite simple. The curriculum that they've been using in elementary school and high school isn't preparing them for a college education. But there's a new curriculum out there that hopes to change that and create that gap between high school and college into a simple, easy step. It's Common Core curriculum. Now, you may be wondering, as cadets at West Point, why would we actually care about Common Core curriculum? After all, we're not going to be high school students again. And while that's true, while we're not going to be high school students anymore, one day you'll have families and you'll put your children through the same system of public education. Furthermore, as a cadet, you'll be expected to be a leader even after the Army, in the private sector or in politics, and you'll have to make decisions then about education. So getting into good habits now and setting the right standards now can help us choose an education and a curriculum that will benefit the students of tomorrow. It's up to us in many ways. Now, Common Core curriculum is a new set of standards that hopes to redefine the way that school happens. It focuses on two very broad subjects, mathematics and English. In mathematics, Common Core hopes to boost a student's ability to think critically about mathematical concepts and to communicate those ideas to other people. In the English standards, Common Core helps to boost reading comprehension throughout a variety of subjects, including literature, math, and the sciences. And it's for this reason that schools need to start implementing Common Core, even if it requires extra funds for some of the lower income school districts. In 2010, the Fordham Institute performed an examination that compared the Common Core curriculum to the current state standards at that time. And they found that, resoundingly, Common Core was the better choice. In only 3 states was Common Core inferior to the state standards. In 22 states, it was just as useful. And in 25 states and the District of Columbia, Common Core was far superior to the state standards. Specifically, Fordham cited that Common Core was providing better defined curriculum for teachers, so they were able to make better lesson plans. They also said that it focused on reasoning and brain power instead of using technology. For that reason, Common Core needs to be implemented instead of the state standards. But it's not just the big studies that are finding that Common Core is better. Teachers in the classroom are feeling the impact. Prior to Common Core, many teachers would be given a reading list, a set of books, a stack of books that they'd have to read through with their class as quickly as possible. The idea being that once you finish that reading list, your students would be ready for the next grade level. They didn't learn how to read better or how to think better, but they did check books off a list. Common Core helps to change that, according to 2 teachers with over 50 years of experience, Rod Powell and Nancy Gardner. They say that Common Core doesn't focus on reading lists anymore, but skills. Instead of forcing teachers to read through a set of books, Common Core gives them the flexibility to read 2 books in a semester. For instance, let's say that a teacher chooses that one of those books is a Shakespeare play, Julius Caesar. Because he doesn't have to read so many books, the teacher can slow the pace down. He can methodically move through the play Julius Caesar, and dissect the language. Have his students figure out why Shakespeare is such a masterful writer. He can talk about each of the characters' motivations, about Brutus and Mark Antony, and ask his students whether or not their decisions were right or wrong. In this way, because he slowed down, because he has that flexibility, the teacher is helping his students learn how to think critically, write better, and how to agree or disagree with an argument. Common Core practices skills, and for that reason, it needs to be implemented instead of a reading list. When it comes to the student, Common Core is a far better choice because it focuses on fundamental skills as well. Simple comprehension skills and critical thinking skills that are useful in any level of learning. That way, no matter if a student finds himself in 3rd grade math or 12th grade statistics, that student has the fundamental comprehension, reading skills, and critical thinking skills to succeed. It's a stair step, a lattice work, and a foundation that they can use to succeed. In addition, these standards are reverse engineered from the SAT and ACT college exams. So when a student participates in the Common Core curriculum, they're practicing for the exams that help them get into college. Now, despite all the good that Common Core brings, many people still disagree and say that Common Core is actually a detriment to our students. One critic, Alex Wexler, argues that Common Core actually hurts a student's individuality, that it stops them from thinking for themselves. Because under Common Core, each student will be learning the same things under the same set of standards. And as a result, Wexler argues, they'll end up thinking the same way and about the same things. Now this would be a problem. We don't want to create citizens who all think the same way or the same thing. But luckily, Common Core does quite the opposite than squelch individuality. It helps cultivate it. Remember, Common Core focuses on skills. Skills of comprehension and critical thinking. Because of that, students can express themselves much better. But just because a student knows how to comprehend a text does not mean that he's been influenced one way or the other of what to think of it. Common Core leaves open what worldview a student ought to choose, but it gives them the skills to effectively express and talk about that worldview to the people around them. But Wexler gives another objection that demands far more attention, and it's the fact that the standards are harder. Common Core is going to be tougher, especially for low-income students. In these school districts where the environment isn't conducive to education, these students already struggle with the current standards. And by raising the bar further, Common Core may drive these students out of school altogether. This is a serious problem. But the answer to it is not to throw Common Core curriculum out the window entirely. In a study, James McParland, an education researcher, found that simple tutoring programs and extracurricular help for these low-income students can help them meet Common Core standards. So the answer is very simple. Provide low-income school districts with extra tutoring programs, and students in those districts can benefit from Common Core as well. Yes, a program like that would require much more funding. But think of the benefits that come from such a small sacrifice from us, the American people. We give thousands of students the chance at a college education and a career, and the opportunities that we have now. Opportunities that they probably wouldn't have otherwise. Just by the addition of funding, we can give the benefits of Common Core to low-income students as well. So, to sum it up, school districts across the nation need to implement Common Core. It's better defined for teachers, focuses on critical thinking and reasoning skills. It's more flexible and allows teachers to focus on skills themselves and not just checking off books off a list. Furthermore, it gives students fundamental skills and practice for the SAT and ACT exams, and helps them prepare for college in that way. And with a little bit of funding, Common Core can be useful to even low-income students who would otherwise struggle with it. So when you go home, when your friends ask you about that, when you are asked to vote about Common Core curriculum, please support it. It's the right direction for American education. It'll give the opportunity of a lifetime to many students who desperately want it. Think of all the opportunities you've had now that you've gone to college, to West Point. Common Core can give that same opportunity to other students as well. Thank you.